The rescue ship Starfinder hovered above the dusty, cracked surface of Thaler 7, a forgotten moon at the edge of human space. Its engines hummed softly as the crew prepared for landing. The moon had no cities, no signals, no life signs, just silence. But 1 week ago, a strange beacon lit up from deep under the surface. It was old, buried, and human-made. The captain sent a team to investigate. Leading them was Rin, a calm and focused field medic. He had never been to Thaler 7 before, and, like the rest of the crew, he didn't expect to find anything alive. He was wrong. The entrance to the underground facility was hidden beneath broken rocks. Rusted metal doors groaned open as the team pushed inside. Flashlights cut through the dust, revealing long-abandoned hallways and broken machines. Everything was quiet. Then they found her. A woman lay curled in the corner of a dark room, wearing a torn pilot suit. Her face was pale, her lips dry. She was alive, but just barely. "She's human," whispered Mira, one of the engineers. "But how?" "No idea," Rin said, kneeling beside her. He checked her pulse. Weak, but steady. "We need to get her out now." As Rin gently lifted the woman, her eyes opened halfway. She looked directly at him. Her voice was no more than a whisper. "But promised." Rin froze. "What did you say?" he asked quietly. She looked at him again, her eyes glassy with tears. "You promised you'd come back." Then she lost consciousness. Rin stood there, holding her in his arms, completely confused. The rest of the crew looked at him, puzzled. "Do you know her?" Mira asked. Rin shook his head slowly. "Never seen her before." Back on the Starfinder, the woman was taken to the med bay. The doctors did their best to rehydrate and stabilize her. Meanwhile, Rin sat alone in his bunk, trying to make sense of what happened. "You promised." Her words echoed in his mind. He opened the ship's database and searched for any records of missions on Thaler 7. Nothing. The place had been listed as abandoned. For over 30 years, no ships were sent there. No colonies. No survivors. So how was she here? That night Rin couldn't sleep. He had a dream. He was running through a burning hallway. Lights flashed red. Explosions rocked the walls. Behind him, someone shouted his name, a woman's voice. He turned. She was there, the same woman from the moon. She was holding something, a silver box, glowing blue. "Rin," she cried. "You promised you'd get us out." The dream ended. Rin woke up sweating. He didn't understand. He had never met her. He had never been in any war. His life had been quiet growing up on Earth, training in the medical corps, serving on peaceful rescue missions. So why did it feel like the dream was real? Later, Rin visited her in the medbay. She was awake now. Sitting weakly on the bed, eyes staring out the window into space, she turned when he walked in. "You're alive," she said softly. Rin sat beside her. "Yes, and so are you. We found you underground. I still don't know how." She gave him a long look. There was sadness in her eyes, something deeper, something like betrayal. "You don't remember me?" she said. "No," Rin admitted. "I'm sorry, I truly don't." She nodded slowly. "They did it then. They wiped your memory." He frowned. "Who?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at the small ID patch on his uniform. "You still go by Rin," she said. "At least they didn't change that." He leaned forward. "Please, tell me who you are." She paused, then said, "My name is Nira. We were soldiers. Together, we fought in the last war." Rin blinked. There hasn't been a war in decades. Nira gave a bitter smile. "Not one Earth remembers." The Vorin made sure of that. Rin shook his head. "Who are the Vorin?" "They're not gone," she said. "Just hiding. They erase memories. They bury the truth. They nearly won, but we stopped them. You and me." This made no sense to Rin, but something in his chest stirred, a strange pull, like a string had been tied to a part of him long lost. "You said I promised something," he said quietly. Nira's voice broke. "You promised to come back. You said we'd escape together. But when the battle ended, I waited. And waited, and you never came." Rin's heart ached. I don't remember any of this. I'm sorry. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. They must have done it to protect something. Maybe to hide you. Maybe even from yourself. He reached out gently. How did you survive all this time? Nira looked away. I wasn't supposed to. They left me there, like trash. The silence between them was heavy. But in that moment, Rin felt something deep inside, a feeling he didn't understand, a memory not yet clear, but real. He stood. I'll help you. Even if I don't remember, I want to understand. I want to know the truth. She looked at him again, softer this time. Then start by finding out who you really are. The ship Starfinder moved slowly through the dark side of Thaler 7, leaving the ruined moon behind. In the medbay, Nira rested quietly, still weak from her time underground. Rin, sitting alone in the ship's data lab, stared at a screen full of questions he couldn't answer. He kept replaying Nira's words in his mind. You were a soldier. You promised to come back. They wiped your memory. He didn't believe her at first. But the dreams were getting stronger. Last night, he had another one. He stood on a battlefield lit by green fire. Huge alien shapes moved in the shadows. Screams echoed. In his hands was a long silver rifle with glowing lines. And beside him, Nira, shouting commands into a broken radio. Then came the same blue box, the one she held in the first dream. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He had picked it up, woke up before seeing what happened next. Now in front of the computer, he ran a deep scan on himself. It's not just physical health this time, a genetic scan. He had never done that before. There was no reason to. He was a normal human. Born on Earth, raised in a quiet town, trained as a medic. Nothing strange about him, but today he had to be sure. The scan took an hour. When it finished, the ship's AI spoke. Scan complete. Warning. Unknown gene lock detected in neural memory layer. Activation possible with special key sequence. Rin frowned. What kind of gene lock? Memory lock. Deep implant placed manually. Likely human origin, date unknown. Rin's hands went cold. Someone had hidden part of his memory. But who? And why? He sent the data to Myra, the engineer. She was smart with old tech, and maybe she could help. Myra met him in the lab 30 minutes later. She studied the scan carefully, her eyes wide. This is old, she said. Looks like it was added years ago. No, deep too. Whoever did this didn't want it found. Can you unlock it? Maybe, she said. But I'll need help. In time. Rin nodded. Do it. Later that day, Rin returned to the medbay. Nira was sitting up, looking much stronger now. She gave him a small nod. You found something, she said. He sat beside her. There's a memory lock in my brain, real and hidden. You were right. I knew they wouldn't just erase you fully. You were too important. Why was I important? Rin asked. I don't feel special. Nira looked at him for a long time. Then she said, We called you the Echo. He blinked. Echo? She nodded. You could do what others couldn't. The Vorin, the alien race we fought, had a way of stealing minds. They erased leaders, wiped whole cities from memory, but not you. You remembered things even after they tried to erase. Them Rin stayed silent. The name felt strange, but somehow familiar. Nina continued. You led the last wave of resistance. You fought in secret. You built Project Stonevale a weapon to stop them. But they found us before we could use it. And you said I promised to come back for you. You said you'd protect the key. The last hope. That you'd erase your own memory to keep it hidden if needed. He stared at her. That's what I did? Yes. Rin stood and walked to the window. Stars moved slowly outside. The ship's engines hummed in the background. If I was that important, he said, why didn't they just kill me? Because they feared you, Nira said softly. And maybe someone helped you escape. Someone wanted the plan. To stay alive, even if buried. Later, Mira called Rin back to the lab. I found something, she said. A hidden access point. I can unlock part of the memory. Will it hurt? I don't think so. But once unlocked, I can't close it again. Rin took a breath. Do it. She placed a small neural cap on his head. Lights blinked. A quiet tone filled the room. Then everything changed. Rin's head felt heavy. The room swirled, then cleared. Images rushed in. He saw himself in a hidden bunker. Nero was there. Dozens of people worked on machines. Loud alarms rang. He was giving orders. "Calm, strong. We fall back to Zone 3, he said. "Protect the key. If we lose, I'll take it. I'll hide it in myself." Nero looked scared. "You won't remember me." He touched her face. "I'll remember enough. I promise." The memory faded. Rin gasped and pulled off the neural cap. Mira looked shocked. "What did you see?"
I
Stared at the floor. "I saw the truth. I really was part of the resistance. I told her I'd hide the weapon in myself. And now I need to remember the rest." That night, Rin sat with Nira again. He told her about the unlocked memory. She smiled sadly. "That's just the beginning. What's the rest?" "You hid the location of Stonevale inside the lock. It's the only weapon that can stop the Vorin for good. But only you know where it is, and now I need to find it again." She nodded. "Before they do." Rin leaned back and looked at the stars. He was no longer just a medic. He was the echo, and the past was waking up. For the first time in his life, Rin felt like he was living someone else's story. But now, the pieces were falling into place, and that story was his. The locked memory had shown him flashes of the truth. He had once been a leader, a fighter, a man called the Echo. He had promised to protect something called Stonevale, the last hope of humanity. And he had erased his own past to keep it safe. But that past was waking up. Rin sat in the quiet observation deck of Starfinder, staring out at the stars. The crew had returned to normal duties, but the air felt heavier. Now, something was coming. He could feel it. Nira stepped beside him. Her steps were still slow, but her strength was returning. "More dreams?" she asked. He nodded. "Every night. More pieces. Last night I saw us hiding in a cave. You handed me a data crystal and told me don't let them find it." Nira looked at him. "That crystal had the coordinates to Stonevale. It's the weapon we built in secret." "Did the memory say where it is?" Rin shook his head. "Not yet. It's close. I can feel it." Later in the command room, Rin met with Mira and the captain. He explained what they had discovered, the memory lock, the hidden past, and the threat of the Vorin. The Vorin were not just enemies, Rin said. They erased history, made people forget there was even a war. But we fought them, and we won something. Something powerful. The captain leaned forward. "If this Stonevale weapon still exists, and if the Vorin are still out there, we have to find it first." Mira nodded. With the neural key active, Rin's memories should return faster now. "We don't have time to wait," the captain said. "Start scanning nearby systems. If we get lucky, maybe Stonevale isn't far." Rin felt a strange pull in his chest direction. "It's not luck," he said softly. "I think I can guide us." Over the next 2 days, Rin spent hours in the neural chamber, unlocking more memories. The dreams were clearer now. He saw himself standing on a frozen planet, watching ships burn in the sky. He saw Nira wounded, pulling him into a cave. He saw a mountain shaped like a hook, and under it, a metal door. That was the last memory. When he woke, he spoke one word, Drellis. "Yes." Balba, my Argor, go of a rebel eye. Planet Drellis. Sector 9. See, that's where. We built the chamber. The captain ordered the ship to jump to the Drellis system. It was far, nearly 4 days away at top speed. But if Stonevale was truly there, it would be worth the risk. As the ship traveled, Rin trained in the old ways. Nira helped him remember how to fight. Though his body had forgotten the movements, his hands learned quickly. The old instincts returned. "You really were a soldier," Nira said, as he blocked her strike. Rin gave a small smile. "Thanks to you?" That night he walked the halls of the ship alone. He felt the weight of the past pressing down on him. He had once been someone important, someone people trusted. Now, he had to become that person again. On the third day, the ship was jolted by a sudden energy pulse. Alarms rang. Rin ran to the bridge. What happened? Unidentified ship on sensors, the pilot said, came out of nowhere. No signal, no ID. A dark, curved ship appeared on the screen. It had no lights, no windows, just black metal and strange glowing lines. Nira's face went pale. "That's them, the Vorin." "What?" the captain asked. She nodded. "That's their scout class. They must have tracked the signal when we opened the memory lock." Rin stepped forward. "Can we outrun them?" "No," the pilot said. "They're faster." "Then we fight," Rin said. The battle was short but sharp. The Vorin ship fired silent beams of red light that cut through the outer hull. The Starfinder returned fire with plasma cannons, but the enemy ship moved like a shadow, dodging easily. Then Mira called from engineering. "They're hacking our systems." "Something's inside the ship." Rin and Nira ran to the lower deck. There, near the storage bay, stood a dark figure. Humanoid, but not human. Its skin was smooth metal. Orin droned. Nira whispered, "Run." But Rin didn't run. He charged. He remembered how to fight now. Every move, every strike, it was like the old days. He slammed into the drone and knocked it back. It lashed out with metal claws, cutting his arm. He ignored the pain. Nira tossed him a shock baton. With one sharp move, he jammed it into the drone's chest. Sparks flew. The drone collapsed. Rin fell to his knees, breathing hard. Behind him, Nira placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's the echo I remember." Back on the bridge, the enemy ship turned and disappeared into warp space. For now, they were safe. But it was clear, the Vorin were watching, and they were afraid of what Rin might find. Later, as the crew repaired the damage, Rin sat with Nira. "Why are they so afraid of Stonevale?" he asked. Nira looked at him. "Because it's the only thing that can destroy their hive mind. They're just machines. With it, we end them for good." Rin nodded slowly. "Then we find it, and we finish what we started." The next day, Starfinder arrived in orbit above Drellis, a cold, rocky planet covered in snow. From orbit, Rin recognized the shape of a mountain. A hook, the same one from his memory. He smiled. "We're here." The Starfinder hovered above the cold, white surface of Drellis. Below, the hooked mountain stood tall, half covered in snow. It looked just like the one from Rin's dream. Curved at the top, rising from the frozen land like a claw. "Coordinates match," said Mira from the console. "The entrance should be at the base of that mountain." Rin stared at it through the ship's front window. His heart beat faster. Something deep inside him remembered this place. "What?" Not just from dreams, from real memories.
"What?"
His boots had walked on that snow before. Nira stepped beside him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of emotion. "This is where you made the choice," she said softly. "What choice?" Rin asked. She looked at him. "To leave me behind." The landing shuttle touched down gently near the base of the mountain. A thick wind blew across the ice. The cold bit into Rin's skin, even through the suit. But he didn't care. He moved ahead, each step drawing him closer to the truth. The team found a flat wall of rock that didn't belong. Metal beneath stone. Rin placed his hand on it, and part of the wall slid open with a deep mechanical sound. They entered the hidden base. It was dark inside. Cold air rushed through the halls. Lights flickered weakly. Dust hung in the air like fog. Rin walked slowly, touching the walls, letting his memory guide him. The others followed. They reached a large circular room deep underground. In the center stood a tall, sealed pod, smooth and silver, with glowing blue symbols. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Stonevale, Nira whispered they had found. Admira and the tech crew set up equipment to scan the pod. The captain stayed with them, while Rin and Nira stepped aside to talk. "This is it," Rin said. "The weapon. We finally found it." Nira nodded, but her expression was heavy. "Yes, but do you remember what it cost to use it?" Rin frowned. "No, not yet." She looked away. "You will." And he stepped closer. "Nira, you said I left you behind. What happened?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke, voice steady but low. "We were attacked just after we hid Stonevale. Voran ships came fast. We didn't have time. You told me to take the back route while you stayed, to delay them." Rin nodded. "That sounds like something I'd do. I waited in the cave for you, like you promised. But you never came. I had no memory. I didn't know." "I know that now," she said. "But back then, I waited for hours, days. I thought maybe you escaped. Maybe you forgot. Or maybe you chose not to come back. I would never leave you on purpose." Tears formed in her eyes. "That's why I stayed alive all those years. To find you again? To remind you?" Rin reached out and gently held her hand. "You did. I'm here, and I remember now." She gave a weak smile. "Good, because the hardest part is still ahead," Mira called from across the room. "We found something strange. You should see this." Rin and Nira joined her at the scanner. "There's a neural interface on the pod," Myra said. "It's locked to a specific genetic signature." "Mine?" Rin asked. Myra nodded. "Yes. But it's more than that. This isn't just a weapon. It's a signal transmitter, a mind pulse. It needs to connect to a human brain to fire." Rin looked at the pod. "What happens when it fires?" Mira hesitated. "The energy release is massive. It will destroy the Voran's hive mind connection across the galaxy. But the person who links to it, they won't survive." Silence fell over the room. Rin stared at the weapon, heart pounding. He had built this, had protected it, and he had locked it to himself because he always planned to be the one to use it. "It was supposed to be me," he said. Nura stepped forward. "You made that choice before. You don't have to make it again." Rin turned to her. "Who else can do it?" "Can," she said. "I helped build it too. I know the system. I can link in." "No," Rin said. "You survived everything. You waited for me. I'm not letting you throw that away, and I'm not letting you die," she said sharply. "Not again." The argument continued into the night. Rin sat alone later, watching the pod glow in the dark room. It felt alive, like it was waiting for him. He closed his eyes. More memories came. He saw Nira crying in the cave. He saw himself erasing his memories, saw his own hands pressing the button, "You promised to come back." He opened his eyes. This time he would keep that promise. In the morning, the Voran arrived. A black ship appeared above the base, dropping drones into the snow. The crew prepared for battle. "We have to activate the weapon now," the captain said. Rin stepped forward. "I'm going in." But Nira blocked his path. "We agreed." "I remember everything now," Rin said gently. "And I choose this, because I won't leave you behind again." Before she could argue, he stepped forward and placed his hand on the pod. It opened. Inside was a seat surrounded by glowing wires and lights. He sat down. The pod closed around him. Nira ran to the control panel. "I'm going with him," shouted. "The system can't take two brains." "It can now," Nira said. "I helped design the backup interface." Before anyone could stop her, she linked in. The lights turned blue. Stonevale hummed with power. Outside, the Voran closed in, inside the pod. Rin and Nira looked at each other through the interface lights. This time, he said, "We finish it together," she smiled. "Together." Inside the glowing pod, Rin felt the machine link with his mind. The lights moved like rivers across the walls, flowing with energy, Soft hum filled his ears. It was not painful, but heavy, like something very old had finally awakened. Across from him, Nira sat in the secondary seat. Her eyes were closed, her face calm. Wires and lights wrapped around her head, just like they did with him. They were connected not just to Stonevale, but to each other. "Connection stable," said Mira's voice through the speakers. "Pulse charge building. You have 2 minutes." Before activation, outside, the storm had begun. The Voran ship floated above the snowy mountain. Black drones swarmed the base, landing on the ice like insects. Their legs cut through metal. Their claws sparked against the walls. The ship's crew fought bravely, but it was only a matter of time before the enemy broke through. Inside the command room, Mira shouted over the alarms. "We need more time. The defense lines won't hold," the captain yelled. "Get ready." "To evacuate? No," Mira said. "We can't pull them out of the pod now, not without stopping the pulse." Inside the pod, Rin and Nira could feel the enemy pressing in. But they also felt something else, the hive mind of the Voran. It was like a cold wind moving through their thoughts. Whispers, commands, signals that bounced between drones and ships. All tied together by one thing, the central mind of the Voran, and Stonevale had found it. Rin saw it clearly now, a network of glowing lines in space, like spiderwebs stretching between stars. Every Voran was part of it. Every drone, every ship, every piece of the enemy connected. The weapon would break that network, but at a cost. "Are you ready?" Rin asked. Nira opened her eyes. They glowed faint blue from the connection. "I've been ready for years." She said, "We still have time to stop," he told her. She gave a soft smile. "You promised to come back, and now you have. That's enough for me." He nodded. Then they both placed their hands on the pulse triggers. Back outside, the drones broke through the outer wall. They poured into the base like black water. Crew members fired, fought, and fell back. Mira grabbed a plasma torch and sealed the hallway leading to the core room. "Hold them off!" the captain yelled. Alarms screamed. Sparks flew. The walls shook, then silence. A low hum filled the entire base. Stonevale had reached full power. Inside the pod, Rin and Nira floated in pure light. The machine had lifted their thoughts into the network. They were no longer in their bodies. They were in the system. Rin felt the Voran hive mind touch him. It tried to read him, control him, erase him, but it couldn't. He was the echo, and now he echoed back with all his strength. A surge of energy moved through Stonevale. The weapon charged, focusing on the central thread of the Voran network. "Final charge ready," said the system. "Voice pulse will activate in 30 seconds. Then something strange happened. A voice entered their minds. But it wasn't human, and it wasn't cold. It was curious. "You are not like the others," the voice said. "You remember?" Rin realized it was the Voran mind itself speaking. "Why fight? Why break what can be joined?" Nira responded. "You erase lives. You took our memories, our homes, our people. We saved your minds from chaos," the voice replied. "You were broken. We gave you order." Rin spoke calmly. "You didn't save us. You tried to control us. But humans don't belong in cages. You will lose yourselves if you destroy us." Nira's voice was firm. "Then we choose freedom, even if it hurts." The pulse reached full power. Stonevale's energy was brighter than the sun. The base shook. The mountain cracked. All over the galaxy, hidden connections between Voran minds began to glow. Then, the weapon fired. It was not a sound or a blast. It was a wave of thought. Pure, powerful, human thought. The pulse shattered the web of control. Drones fell silent. Ships lost direction. The hive mind screamed once and then vanished. The Voran network was broken. The war was finally over. Inside the pod, Rin and Nira collapsed. Their bodies still breathed, but their minds were quiet. The pod opened. Mira and the captain rushed in, expecting to find nothing. but they found two people still alive. Bruised, weak, unconscious, but alive. Hours passed. The base was quiet again. The drones outside had stopped moving. The black ship above the mountain floated, empty. No more attacks. No more signals. Rin woke first. He opened his eyes to the soft light of the medbay. Nira was sleeping. Beside him, Mira smiled. "Welcome back." He blinked slowly. "Did it work? You saved everyone," she said. "The Vorin are done." Nira stirred. Her eyes opened, meeting Rin's. "You came back," she whispered. "I remembered," he replied. They held hands in silence, for the first time in years. The stars above were quiet and free. The Starfinder floated above the now silent planet. Of Drelis, the war was over. The Vorin hive mind had been shattered, but the cost of victory was heavy. The crew was exhausted, battered from the fight. But for the first time in years, they could rest. The enemy was gone. Rin stood at the observation window, gazing at the snow-covered mountains below. His mind still felt foggy from the link with Stonevale, but he could feel the weight lifting. No more Vorin, no more hiding. For him, for Nira, for all of humanity. Nira walked up beside him, her footsteps light against the metal floor. She smiled at him, though there was sadness in her eyes. "You were right," she said quietly. "We did it." Rin nodded but didn't take his eyes. "Off the distant horizon?" "We did, but I can't shake the feeling. There's more we still need to do." Nira glanced at him, confusion in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," Rin said, finally turning to face her. "Something's missing." "The Vorin are gone, yes. But the universe is still broken. People are still out there, scattered. I feel like I'm supposed to do something about it." That night, after the base was secured and repairs began, the captain called for a meeting. The room was filled with the crew, tired but relieved. They had one. But the question now was, what would they do next? "We've spent years fighting for survival," the captain began, standing at the head of the table. "But the war is over, and the Vorin are gone, and Stonevale did what it was meant to do. The galaxy is no longer under their control." Rin sat in the back, listening carefully. The room was full of mixed emotions. Some looked relieved, others still uncertain. The captain continued, "We can finally rebuild. But there are new challenges ahead. The question is, what kind of future? Do we want to build?" Rin raised his hand. The room grew quiet as everyone turned toward him. "I think the future we build starts with people remembering who they really are," he said. "The Vorin erased memories. They buried the truth. But now it's time for people to know. To remember what they lost." A murmur of agreement passed through the room. Nia leaned over to him. "You're not talking about just Earth, are you?" He shook his head. "No, we can't keep living in the shadows. We have to remind people of who we are and show them that humanity is stronger than anyone ever gave us credit for." The captain nodded slowly. "It sounds like we're not just protecting a new world. We're helping people wake up." "Exactly," Rin said. "We've won the war, but the real work is just beginning." The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. The Starfinder began gathering data from the wreckage of the Vorin ships. Mira and the rest of the crew worked tirelessly to reverse engineer their tech, learning as much as possible from their enemies. Meanwhile, Rin and Nira spent hours talking. As his memories continued to return, so did his understanding of what the Vorin had tried to do. They had tried to break humanity, but the human spirit was too strong. They had tried to erase their will, but the will of humanity couldn't be suppressed. "We are the echo," Rin said one evening, as they stood together outside the ship. "And echoes don't fade. They return, they build, they fight, and they remember." Nira looked at him, her expression softening. "You always knew what needed to be done. You were just afraid of remembering it." He smiled faintly. "I think I was afraid of losing myself in all of it, but now I'm ready." As the days passed, the Starfinder crew set a course. For Earth, they had collected enough information to begin reuniting the scattered human colonies, helping them rebuild and remember who they were. The Vorin might have erased the past, but they couldn't erase the future. Rin and Nira had been through so much. They had lost memories, they had lost time, they had lost each other. But now they had found each other again. And that was what mattered most. 3 weeks later, Earth came into view. It was more beautiful than Rin remembered. Green fields, blue oceans, the familiar cities rising from the landscape. It was home. Nira stood beside him, her hand resting on his arm. "What happens now?" she asked. He smiled at her. "Now we start telling people the truth. We show them what humanity can do when we remember who we are." Wetter Sturger, Ruckere, or Rekere, Corrider, Redred, Aurelgare, Our, I Rhino Agger, I Hunter, Nira asked. "Then we keep fighting," Rin said, "because we've got a future to build." The Starfinder landed in a quiet field on the outskirts of a familiar city. As Rin stepped off the ship, the cool air hit him, but it felt different now. It felt like freedom. He turned to Nira. "Are you ready?" She nodded. "Let's remind them who we are." Together, they walked toward the city, toward the people, toward a future that they would help create. A future where humanity would remember, where they would rebuild what was lost. The war had ended, but the real story was just beginning. The city stood before them, ancient but alive. The skyline was dotted with tall buildings, their windows reflecting the early morning sun. The streets were busy with people moving through their daily routines, but Rin could feel the weight of history in the air. The Vorin might be gone, but their shadows still lingered. As Rin and Nira walked down the main street, people looked at them. They noticed the strangers, the travelers, but didn't yet know what they had come to say. It had been so long since anyone had dared to speak of the truth. "We can't wait any longer," Rin said softly, glancing at Nira. She nodded. "I know. We need to remind them, show them the truth." They entered a small square in the center of the city, where people gathered to listen to the daily announcements. Rin stepped forward, his boots clicking softly on the pavement. He raised a hand signaling for attention. The crowd turned, curious. Rin took a deep breath. The first time, he felt the full weight of his past and the promise he had made. "We've been living in the dark for too long," he began. "For years, the truth has been hidden. We've been told lies. Memories were stolen, but we are not lost. We are humanity, and we will remember." Nira stepped up beside him, her voice strong. "The Vorin tried to break us. They tried to erase everything we were, but they failed. We are still here. Remember who we are." A murmur ran through the crowd. Some faces looked confused, others uncertain. But Rin could feel it, eh? Shift. The truth was stirring, and it was only a matter of time before it spread. "We fought," Rin continued, "and we won. We fought for freedom, for our families, for our future. We lost many along the way, but we never gave up." He looked out at the crowd, meeting eyes with those who had gathered. "And now, we're asking you to remember. Remember who you are. Remember what we've built together." As the words settled in the air, a quiet voice from the crowd spoke. "What do we do now?" Rin turned toward the speaker. A young woman stepped forward, her eyes full of uncertainty. "How do we rebuild? How do we make things right?" Nira smiled at her, stepping closer. "The first step is remembering. Second is working together. We've all been separated for too long. Now, we need to unite. We need to rebuild what was lost." Rin joined in. "We're not alone. There are more of us out there. Colonies, survivors, people who have been waiting for this moment. And together, we'll show the galaxy what humanity can do when we come together." Another voice rose from the crowd, a man this time. And how do we trust that this time it won't be taken from us again? Rin's eyes were steady. We will never forget again. We'll never allow anyone to take that from us. We have the strength to protect each other, and we have the courage to stand up for the truth. A quiet hush fell over the square. The people seemed to be absorbing the words. Some still looked doubtful, but others were nodding, their faces lighting up with a spark of hope. Nera looked at Rin. Her smile was small, but full of pride. You did it. You reminded them. He took a breath and nodded. We did it. The next few days passed quickly. News spread like wildfire across the city, and then to others. More and more people began to gather, wanting to hear the truth. The hidden memories, long forgotten, started to resurface. Families reunited. The past was no longer a shadow. It was a history that could be faced and embraced. Rin and Nera spent their days traveling through the city, meeting with leaders, speaking to groups. They shared what they had learned about the Vorin, about the war, about Stonevale, and the fight for freedom. People listened, and slowly, the pieces of the past began to fit together. The fractured parts of humanity were starting to heal. One evening, after a long day of speaking, Rin and Nera found themselves standing on a balcony overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the buildings. The streets below were alive with people, moving toward a new future. We've come a long way, Nera said, her voice soft but full of wonder. Rin looked at her, his heart full of gratitude. We have, but this is only the beginning. The universe is wide, and there are more out there who still don't know the truth. Nera smiled. We'll find them. We'll remind them too. Rin took her hand. Together, they stood there. In silence for a moment, watching the city below. There was so much to rebuild, so much to remember. But for the first time in a long time, Rin felt peace. The past was no longer a weight. It was a story to be told. A story that would echo through the galaxy, reminding everyone of what humanity could achieve, as the stars began to appear in the sky. Rin and Nera looked up, knowing that they had finally come full circle. They had survived the war. They had rebuilt, and now they had a future. A future where humanity would never forget. The end.